whole family has been very musical. So my mom played violin, mandolin, sang in church. Both my sisters are musicians, playing piano for the older one and voice. So music was always in my house. My brother started taking piano lessons. He hated it, ended up being a drummer. When I was 4, I wanted to take piano lessons, and my mom thought, no, he just wants to be like his brother. And I'm like, no, I want to play. And they finally relented and gave me lessons, and I just took off. I did play low brass throughout elementary, junior high, high school to be in band. But when it came to the jazz band, since I was spending more of my time practicing the piano and not the trombone, I wasn't able to make the jazz band on the trombone. And the director said, well, unless you can play the piano. And I said, well, actually I can. And then I played for him, and he's like, why are you playing the trombone? So, yeah. The part of piano that appeals to me is I'll just call it an instantaneous creative moment. Some people call it ad lib. You know, you hear people when they play a jazz solo, they just ad lib and play whatever comes. I like that because it's a full expression of what's inside you. Scientists have studied it and found that's the only time when you're actually using your full brain. Both sides of your brain is when you're creating music. It seems like a lot of science, a lot of mathematical stuff, people are creative but based on the science or knowledge of others and books they've read and other things, but music in its free form is just you. While you may have influences, it's still whatever comes out is you. I'm a captain with United Airlines. I've been flying for United for over 20 years. I got interested in flying probably about 5 years old. I know my mom kept a piece of paper from first grade, said, when I grow up, I want to be an airline pilot. And here I am. Well, some people have asked me how I got into the piano business being an airline pilot. And as you know, I've kind of always dabbled in both. And after 9/11, United laid off a lot of pilots. I did not get laid off, but I thought I might. And I wasn't too sure of my income security at that point. So I looked, and I was still looking for something I could do outside of aviation. Around that time, I had my regular piano tuner come and tune my piano, and he suggested that I do some repairs on this to just make it a little nicer. So I told him to write up an estimate, and he wrote up the estimate, and I took one look at it, and I think it was around $3,000 to $4,000, and a light bulb went off in my head, and I'm like, I could do that, because I'm very craftsman-like. I've always been a handyman of the family. But as a child, I remember my dad, who was an engineer and an inventor, had I think 17, 18 patents for farm equipment and other inventions. We would always take things apart and fix it rather than buy something new. So I had that instilled in me from a young age. So when I get to a piano that is sometimes 100 years old, 120 years old, it's kind of the same process. You take it apart, you rebuild it, you make it better than it was before. Yeah, when I first started the business, probably a little more than 10 years ago, I would get maybe 1 or 2 phone calls a week. And at its peak, during the holiday season primarily, I get now as many as 30 to 40 phone calls a day of people wanting pianos tuned and so on. I have 2 daughters, Brianna, who's currently 25, and Kylie, who's 20. And they both started as musicians early, 5 years old, 6 years old. Kylie used to help me in the shop, fix and repair pianos that I had in my shop, and she learned along the way and eventually decided she would start her own business doing the same thing, what she's doing today. Right now, as far as the business, I've passed off most of the business to my daughter. I have put everything on hold. I'll just say I retired for now from the piano business, focusing on an upcoming move and education that I'm getting, planning for the future. It's an option for me, certainly after I retire. I may pick it up again at that time, but for now it's going to be put on hold. Music to me has always been more personal. So it's something that's important for me in my life, but it's something I could always do regardless of what my job was. Whether I wanted to play in a band at the local coffee shop on the weekends or something, I could always do that even while having a job. But flying, I'll just say it pays the bills a whole lot better than being a musician. But I still get to be a musician.